It's been 5 months. 5 months since I played a retro game. Boogerman. He's been calling me, leaving his torturous messages.
When are you gonna play Sewer Shark, Half-Bit? When?
Tom Zito and digital pictures are a part of gaming history that I want to forget. A time when full-motion video games sparked a small flame in the minds of kids everywhere. We didn't know any better. We sat around looking at our GamePro and EGM magazines, staring at screenshots of games like Supreme Warrior and Corpse Killer. Just the mere idea that we could control live action. But that wasn't how it worked at all, was it? No. It was no different than playing with the menus on your basic DVD with your remote. We were fooled. F&V games were a scam, and they have no business being a part of our gaming history. So you really want an answer, Boogerman? The answer is no, and there isn't any hand you can play to cause me to pick up a controller again.
Hey, hon, I thought you said you were just going to the store.
Oh, this isn't your honey bunny, Half-Bit.
Boogerman.
Oh, you're good, Half-Bitch, but apparently not good enough considering you just led your wife and son into my little trap.
You son of a bitch!
Oh, calm down, Half-Size. If you hadn't taken 5 months to pull your NES Max out of your ass, I wouldn't have had to resort to such tactics.
What do you want from me?
Oh, Jesus, you really are a half-witch, aren't you?
Your mom.
I'm going to teach you a lesson, half-tit. A history lesson about Tom Zito and digital pictures. I'm going to pry your eyes wide open and make you see the one thing you've overlooked in regard to your hatred of their games. And we'll start this little adventure with your review of Sewer Shark for the Sega CD. Beat the game and it'll give you a clue as to where you can find your family. Oh, and Half-Pipe, I've taken extra precaution this time. Not only do I have your family, but I've also taken your favorite gaming console.
No.
Oh yes, Half-Bit, your Super Nintendo.
Let's do this.
It's another digital pictures game. Now with this one I actually have a little bit of history. When I was a kid I actually wanted the Sega CD pretty bad because I wanted to play Mortal Kombat on it. And I remember seeing it in a pawn shop, so after saving up all my hard-earned allowance, I ended up buying the Sega CD along with Mortal Kombat. When I got it home, much to my surprise, Sewer Shark was in the drive. So, in true retrospective perspective form, let's take a look at the perspective of what it was like to play this as a kid. And now, let's take a retrospective look at what it was like to play this as an adult. Yeah, not a lot's changed. A big part of the reason the game is often regarded as highly difficult is due to the fact that the game simply doesn't hold your hand through anything. You're never given any information that you can actually use if you don't know what anything means prior to putting the disc in the console. It's a lot like driving a car. If you've never seen a car or the inside of one and someone hands you the keys, you aren't going to know what to do. In that regard, the instructions for Sewer Shark is basically a 300 level college class and the game being the final exam. However, back then, I didn't have the instructions and unfortunately, I still don't. Admittedly, as a kid, I wasn't exactly in the habit of reading instructions anyway. Now, you might be thinking you should read the instructions. To a certain extent, I agree. The problem is if you look at most games you've played, whether they're popular or obscure, you didn't have to do that. Much of what we learn in most games comes from trial and error. With Sewer Shark and no instructions, trust me, it's all error. And if that's not enough, think about how many times you've purchased a used game that didn't have the instructions. Not having them with a used purchase is a far more commonplace than anything else. But we're used to that scenario, and we often persevere successfully because most games include a lot of the information that we need in order to play it right on the cartridge or the disc. But with Sewer Shark, none of that information is on the disc. There's no options screen, no controller configuration screen, nothing. I remember even as a kid, I purposely didn't skip through the intro, hoping in vain that somehow, some new information would pop out and at least clue me in as to how this game works.
First time, huh, rookie? Hey, listen, I hear they're putting you in with Ghost today. Now that's my main man. Greatest co-pilot to ever shoot the tubes. Give him your best stuff, and he'll keep you flying. Maybe all the way to Solar City, huh?
Pilot Valgo to launch Phase 7. Valgo to launch Phase 7.
Showtime. I'm Falco. You'll be hearing from me.
Welcome to the sewers, punk. The guy you're replacing, he had that same tough guy smirk on his face that you do, till he hit the wall. They're out there now blotting him up with handy wipes. But the ghost here, I always come back for more. Let's go, rookie! Take a deep breath, rookie. Don't you love the smell of the sewers in the morning? They smell like victory! This here's the whole hog. I took her apart and I put her back together again. No matter what they taught you up at Top Rat, factory jobs ain't worth scrap. I got some stuff in her. It's not all strictly legal, but it just might keep you off the wall. Now until you earn a better one, your call sign, Dog Meat. All right, climb aboard, Dog Meat.
Alpha Swift departures from launch Phase 5, 37, and 22. Will commence at
Crash and burn. Crash and burn. The sewer jockeys come and they go. But down here, this is the hole. I give you a name, a friend, a boss, and a reason to live. You're gonna owe me big, Dog Meat. And what's my payback? 1 million pounds of tube steak. That's all you gotta deliver today, hot shot. You nail this one run, and we got a one-way ticket to Solar City.
launch window for ship.
So again, sticking with this same theme of no information in text form, based off of the intro, we can clearly gather that something in the future happened that forced humanity to live underground in the sewers. My first two questions being why and how. I mean, I've heard of people living in abandoned sewers before, but active sewers? How would that even be possible? Even if we ignore the serious health complications, it just brings me to my other question. Why? Why do we live down there? As we can see in Ghost Slideshow, the whole goal is to get to Solar City, which is this beach on the surface. So were things so bad at one time on the surface that the sewers was somehow a healthier place to live, and somehow it's now cleared up enough that we're better off out of them again? Or is it something else? Judging from the characters we've met so far, with Falco's brash attitude and Ghost's in-your-face drill instructor-esque approach, were we condemned down there? Were we formerly the military? I mean, everything we see so far is very paramilitary. In fact, Ghost even borrows a line from Apocalypse Now.
They smell like victory!
I know I'm dissecting this a little too much, but that's the problem when you don't give enough foundation to the player. When you've radically changed the world that we're accustomed to, all it does is raise numerous questions. Questions that we're never going to get any answers to the entire game. So knowing that we're not getting any answers, we may as well just move on.
Maybe you're good enough, Dog Meat. Let's find out. I'm your backseat this trip, so don't screw up, huh? Hey, Captain! Transmit, you dirty little...
Whoa, I'm working real good now, Mr. Ghost. Oh my gosh, what is that ugly thing sitting in the pilot seat?
What the hell is that? Is that Casey from Daedalus Encounter? I guess they did finally install that speech interpolation system.
Okay, ignition on 3. Ready? 3! Pretend it's a game. Maybe it'll even be fun. Shoot the tubes, Dog Meat!
Catfish the Ghost, we got a target acquisition down here. Oh my gosh, it's Ghost! The critter's out, great!
And this is the game. You're just waving a cursor around, shooting in a sewer filled with methane gas at radioactive rats that the game calls ratigators. You have very little control over what goes on screen. It's basically just one long hallway of rail shooting. Seems simple enough, right? Well, there's a little more to it than that, which is where the instructions would come in handy if you had them. See this thing up top that's lighting up? This is essentially your available directions. Every time an arrow blinks, it means you have an opportunity to turn down one of the tunnels in the sewer. You do this by holding B and moving the D-pad in that direction. This locks the control, so when the opening appears, you'll automatically turn. As a kid, this was a big part of the mystery for me, and it still is for most gamers. Naturally, when you see a blinking arrow, you're inclined to turn into that direction, but that's not how this game works at all. Anytime you take a wrong turn, Ghost immediately starts yelling at you. It's like, what did I do wrong? There was a blinking icon on my navcom, and it was in green, no less. Think about how many games you've played where there was an arrow blinking telling you where to go. How many times have you played one where the arrow was a giant lie and you actually weren't supposed to go in that direction? It literally goes against all of your gaming senses. Honestly, sitting back and mentally going through every game I've ever played, I have never seen a game that displayed a direction that was totally bogus. And guess what happens when you take a wrong turn? You crash. Yep, you just crash and the game is over. Seriously, this is all I ever saw growing up. I popped the disc in less than 5 minutes, the game was over. This is the scenario most gamers have experienced with this game, and again, this is also the reason it's pegged as being hard. But we now have a tool that we didn't have back then. The internet. Now, I've said this before about Tom Zito and Digital Pictures games, but again, when you make the player feel as though he or she has to go on the internet to figure out how to play your game, you're an asshole. So here's how the arrows work. At the very beginning, Catfish shows you 3 directions that we have to take in order. Remember before when I said that when you see the blinking arrows, it was an opportunity to turn? Well, really, it's just an opportunity to die because you want to ignore all blinking arrows except for the ones you need that Catfish called out previously. And remember, it has to be in order. Because of this, I find myself mumbling the directions repeatedly as I play. Ooh, up, left, up, left, up, left, up, left. Knowing how this game works now, this is still very difficult even though the directions are only being called out in 3s. Imagine counting to 100 while 3 of your friends are shouting out random numbers into your ear as you do so. All of the blinking arrows are incredibly distracting, and don't forget, you still have other things to shoot at as you do this. You can mess up the first set of directions and the game will continue, but if you mess up just one arrow, and I mean 1/3 of a set of directions after this, you will crash and you will be blessed with a game over screen. The only other times you can change the direction in which you move is when you see charge stations, which are used to give your whole hog, which is the ship you're flying in, more energy. Run out of energy and you die. This brings us to the next difficult thing you have to deal with, the energy level. Like you'd expect, the enemies cause damage to your ship, which reduces your ship's energy. Even if there's no enemies on screen, your energy still depletes. By simply firing your Gatling gun, your energy also diminishes. So quite literally everything you do or don't do is killing you. God, what a crappy game. I guess if you apply it to real life, as humans, we're always aging, so in a sense, the minute we're born, we're basically dying. Now I'm depressed. Once you've started to get your memory and your reaction time going sky high, you'll start to notice those doors that would only open part way, causing you to crash, are now opening all the way, and Ghost now has nice things to say about your performance. Your reward for this, besides new call signs, is to start seeing really bizarre video feeds of your boss Stenchler. Since Total Recall is in my top 5 favorite movies of all time, I very quickly recognized who he was. Here he seems to be in charge of Solar City, and every time you see him, he's scarfing down loads of food in these pretty amusing scenes.
I'm talking to dog feet there. Nice shooting, no kidding. You're a real,
Contender!
Yeah, you see, I use classy words like that 'cause, I'm a totally,
Classy type guy!
Woo! Party! Let's dance!
Some of these videos you really don't want to see. One example, I was having an okay run, and then suddenly out of nowhere, this happened.
Hey, dog breath, or whatever your name is. That was one lousy run. Why should I waste?
For the municipal funds, that's such an obvious boondoggle.
That's it! You're a boondoggle! I need a drink! Ah! And today's...
Look at those totals, dog meat. They look reconstituted frog slime. I'm shipping you back to flight school.
What?
See
Why?
how you like
What did I
flying
do
a
wrong?
front brain.
Game over? No! Once again, I'm back on the World Wide Web just to find out what on earth I did wrong. As it turns out, I didn't have a high enough score in order for me to continue with the game. If that's the case, don't place enemies in nearly impossible positions like this. How the hell is anyone supposed to nail those that fast? Like I said before, there's no button configuration option, so it's not like I can change the sensitivity on how you control your aiming reticle. Besides, I can't just fire all over the place because that drains your energy quicker, also causing you to lose your life. Okay, so for you to be able to get anywhere in this game, you have to 1. Never screw up with a single direction in the game. 2. Never skip a recharge station. 3. Don't fire your weapon too much. 4. Never miss. And 5. Don't get hit. So to summarize, you have to be flawless. I would say who programmed this poop fest, but we already know the answer, don't we? As you continue along, you'll discover Falco has been following some bird through the sewers.
The Solar City, it actually exists. Switching to nose cam. Okay, see this crazy looking thing? It's home in Russia, Solar City. Just track it through the tube. Pretty wild, huh? Oh, it's gonna be so fun up there, Ghost. Walking on that white sand. Wait a minute, what is... It's one of those... It's coming this way! It's coming right at me! No!
I know I should probably be thinking, oh no, they've got Falco, but all I can really think about is why would there be a bird in the sewers? And why would Falco follow it? Really think about that for a moment. She saw a bird and decided to follow it. You'll discover that Falco has actually been captured and... What? Game over again? What'd I do wrong this time? Was it my score? It just feels so cheap to get so far and have the game suddenly end. Starting over in itself sucks, but what makes it worse is that you can't skip any of the cutscenes. While they can be pretty funny, try watching them 30 times in a row while you're still bent on anger from dying for no real good reason that's of course completely out of your control. There's even one part where in a video sequence, Ghost asks you to fire the newly upgraded cannon, and if you don't, you'll see a game over screen. Imagine getting that far and only have it end without warning. You know, dying wouldn't be that bad in this game if you had some sort of extra lives or continues or just anything. If I stop and think about it, this has to be the most selfish game I've ever played. The game starts the minute you drop the disc in. No option screen, no continues, no extra lives. You have to pay attention to everything on screen at all times. There's not a single second where you can blink or look away. Sewer Shark demands your complete and undivided attention. And you know what's sad about this? Sewer Shark actually feels like it could have been a good game. Given everything else I've said, that sounds pretty hard to believe, I know. But as I sit here paying close attention to what directions I need to execute while ignoring the ones I don't need, firing all over the place at enemies in hard to reach spots, all while paying attention to my health and energy gauges, I find myself shaking as I play this. Even though it's stressful, all this forced attention to detail is actually pretty stimulating. It just makes you wish that the creators would have taken more time to flesh out several of the plaguing issues and provide the player with some options. How about the option of some extra lives or some friggin' continues? Is that honestly too much to ask? Unlike with other digital pictures titles, I can at least call this a game. But is that really saying much? Russian Roulette is a game. At least there I have a chance to continue. Wait, no, think about that! I have a better chance of getting a continue with Russian Roulette than I do with Tom Zito. What the hell, man? Once getting back to where I left off, you suddenly start following the same bird that Falco was. This basically replaces Catfish's directions he calls out, which is a lot easier to follow because the bird just darts headfirst into the area you need. To top it off, the bird is easier to view instead of shooting your eyes up at the arrows on the navcom. Are you kidding me? My game froze? Just how many problems does it take to get to the center of Solar City? The world may never know. Eventually I do make it back to where I was, and Stenchler puts what he calls zerts into the sewer through his filing cabinet. He has a filing cabinet that leads directly to the sewers. This also happens to be the final fight in the game, making it even more of a bummer that my game froze where it did, considering I now know this is the end of the line.
Well, we're almost there, Mr. Ghost. It don't smell bad no more. Dang, Solar City. That's real pretty underwear, miss.
We made it, Beach Bum.
Gee, you're cute!
Oh my, let's do that again.
All right, buddy.
Welcome to paradise.
Where's Stenchler?
So in conclusion, this is a rarity for Tom Zito and Digital Pictures because this actually showed some promise. But in their typical fashion, they screwed it all up, and what you're left with is a really bizarre game where the whole goal is to get to the center of Solar City. And for what, 1 million pounds of tube steak? What is that anyway? Hot dogs? Hey, Dad. Oh my God, guys. Where's Boogerman?
He left about an hour ago.
Aiden, I want you to wait in the car for us, okay?
Go.
Where's my Super Nintendo?
I'm sorry, hon.